Hello again, everyone. So this is my promised video about the PenBBS calligraphy nibs. So these are only the steel nibs. I do not have any of the gold calligraphy nibs, mostly because the gold calligraphy nibs tend to run a little over $100, and then these steel nibs are $20 a piece. So I did want to try the full line to see which ones I liked and which ones I didn't, because 2021 was the year of the nib, as I had indicated in a prior video, and I was really into trying a variety of nibs. So some of these are pretty impressive, and I would say are equal to fancy grinds that you would get for $40 to $50. Others, I'm not quite so sure they have enough uniqueness to really warrant getting them. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this is because it seems like PenBBS is having more of those nibs in stock on their Etsy shop, and I wanted to give you writing samples or examples of each one so that you could decide whether you want to get all of them like I did, or just get one or two, depending on what you like. So one caveat, though, is that each of these do have different types of ink in them. So I'm not doing the same ink for every nib, which would create a little bit more consistency. So there are going to be some variables attached to the inks. Like some inks flow a little better. I have one sparkle ink in here, so that might affect that particular nib. Some inks are drier, some inks are wetter, etc. So just keep that in mind. A lot of them are troublemaker inks, which can run a little dry, but it's not going to be consistent between all of the nibs. So just know that there's going to be a little bit of variation because of that. The pens that these are in are all PenBBS nibs. So you can, I actually did not know this until fairly recently, that you can, for most, not all, most of the PenBBS nibs, which you can also get on Etsy, or pens, sorry, which you can also get on Etsy. The nibs are, you can screw them out and screw new ones in, which is what I did with these. These are all models that you can do that with. The bulk of these, well, actually, let's see. So 3 of these are essentially a bulk filler pen, and this is the 355. And these have been fairly recently upgraded, they say. I'm not sure what the changes were, but all 3 of mine are from the newer version. These are really inexpensive. These tend to be a little bit more expensive than just the plain ones. These all are just ones that I could eyedropper fill, and these kind of varied between like $12 and $20 depending on which one I got, and they do have different numbers. I would say just look through their offerings. These and the bulk filler ones, which are a little more expensive, which I have 3 of, they all can have the nibs screwed out and screwed back in. Some of the cheaper models with the pen clips, I think one is a vacuum filler. The smaller vacuum filler, you cannot screw in and out the nib. And then I also wanted to include this pen from PenBBS. So this, and this may not be available all the time, but I did want to introduce it. And I promise I will do the writing samples. I know we're getting close to 5 minutes here with no samples, but we'll get there soon. So this is a mini fude nib. So this is essentially the equivalent of a size 5 nib. And you can see, so a fude nib normally has, it's like a bent end, which is bent up. And this is just very, very slight. But I did want to show you this and show you how it writes. This was very inexpensive. I think it was $12 for the pen and nib combination. You could, this does not have a screw in and out. housing, but you could pull this nib, I think, and put into another pen. I didn't even realize that this came with the pen in addition to the nib, because I was really just after the nib, and I thought $12, that's reasonable for a unique nib, but it actually came with the pen. So I eyedropper filled the pen. It does come with a converter, so you could do that, but I'll test that one out for you as well. Actually, let me make sure over here on the side. Yes, so this one is flowing very nicely, and I'll try to remember what ink is in this one because I did not look it up. Let me look that up real quick. The other ones, I do know what the inks are. Let's see. Okay, so this is one of the ink vent inks. This will have Diamine Raspberry Rose. And write that down over here. And part of the reason why I wanted to include this mini fude is it actually writes quite nicely. So I'll do that one at the end. So I'm going to go in order of these calligraphy nibs. So there's 1 through 7. There's only 7 that I know of that are in the steel nibs. And they're calligraphy nibs. So I think they really are meant for Japanese calligraphy with writing words and things in Japanese. But they do have some really cool features. Okay, I'm going to hold the nib up to the camera first, and then I'm going to write with it, and then I am going to put the writing closer up to the camera at the end. So this is number 1, and a lot of these are somewhat like an architect nib, meaning they have a thinner downstroke and a fatter side stroke. But they're all kind of variations on different things. So this one is number 1. So this is calligraphy number 1. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the lines at my normal writing angle, which is about 45 degrees. And then I'm going to put it up higher and then put it down lower and show you the different line widths. Because some of these you do get a different line depending on how you hold it. So this is my normal grip. So here's down, and then here is side to side. So there is a narrower downstroke and a wider side stroke. So then higher up, you get a narrower stroke, both up and down and side to side. And then lower down, you get a fatter downstroke and actually a thinner side stroke, which is interesting. So this one has a lot of variety. The ink that I have in here is Troublemaker. And then I'm going to write in petrichor. So depending on how you write, you will get different how you write. You'll get different qualities. Oops, sorry, that's off to the side. You'll get different qualities of line. So I will put these up to the camera at the end. I'm going to try and go through these a little bit quickly now that you know how I'm going to be showing you those. So this is the calligraphy nib number 1, which I showed you at the beginning. And then this one has calligraphy nib number 2, which is a little more extreme, actually. So this, you can see it's a little bit bigger, but it still has that architect quality. So this is nib number 2. So this is my normal writing angle. So downstroke is fine. Side stroke is much fatter. So it's basically like, so if this were like a medium architect nib, this would be like a broad architect nib. And you are getting a finer downstroke, so this is more like a true architect nib. So if we go up and then down, the vertical stroke is not changing all that much, although it's a little finer here and a little fatter here, but you are getting differences with the side stroke. So the ink in this one is Birmingham. So architect nibs really do shine with all capital lettering. And then I will do... So these are kind of nice, I think, because they're basically like multiple nibs in one pen. So let's go on to the next one, which is number 3. And this is the one that I have a sparkle ink in it. It is Pelican Golden Barrel. And I thought since this was kind of a stubby nib, it would work well in there. So as you can see, the shape looks a little different. It's a little more rounded on the top. Oh, and one thing I did want to show you, I haven't really had much luck with reverse writing with any of these nibs. See, like this one is very, very sharp. You're not really going to get much. And then I know some people have tuned them to be able to do reverse writing, but they're generally very fine and the ink doesn't flow well. But going forward, I will try to show an example of that too. So this is number 3. And because it is sparkly, I may have to hold it at an angle for you to be able to see it well. So that's the downstroke, side stroke at my normal angle. And again, I'll tilt it so you can see. And then it's narrower, both side to side and up and down with the higher angle. And then it is a little bit fatter, or I would say more consistent between down and side stroke. So this one is not as, it's not as severe, the difference in the line. And then if we do reverse writing, you're not really getting much. Okay, so then the ink here is Pelican Golden Barrel. And this one is a little bit dry. If you put it way up, it writes best at that normal angle. And let me tilt this. There you go. So you can kind of see there. All right, so the next one is number 4. And I will show this one to you again. So this one is a little bit different in that it seems to have a little bit of a swoop upstroke as opposed to just sort of like a flat architect. So this would be more like a curved architect maybe. So they're all a little different. And I don't know, number 4, I don't know what the purpose is of each of these, if like there's a particular writing style that would work best with that. I have not heard about that. If you're aware of that, let me know. So this is downstroke at my normal angle, side stroke, so generally similar. You get a narrower side and downstroke, but there's still some difference between the two here. And then if I go down low, not a whole lot of variation on number 4 here. So this is Robert Oster Soda Pop. I do like how writing looks with this one though. I think this one is one of the most practical for everyday writing, would be this number 4. I think the other one out of these 4 is number 1. It's not so broad that you can't write with it. Let me see if I go up high. Blue. Yeah, the variation is very subtle at the different angles with number 4, but it's a great one for everyday writing because you know, you can get a little bit of flair in there. The block lettering looks a little squarish. I don't know if that makes sense because you have a flatter end basically when you're writing. So you know, I think it's good for everyday writing. And then this is number 5. And this one again is a little bit more broad, but it's also a little bit more curved than some of the original ones I was showing you. Just a little bit. So they're all just a little bit different. Okay, here's my normal writing angle. So you're getting a wider side stroke than a downstroke. And these little gaps here, that's from my ink. I tried to prime these up before using, but you are going to get, this one hasn't been written with in a little while, number 5. So this ink is Troublemaker Milky. Oops, let me do this in regular writing. Milky Ocean. And then it's a little bit more scratchy higher up, a little bit more broad lower down. Oh, and I didn't, yeah, part of the reason why I'm not doing it is because they're just not really satisfying to write in reverse. Let me see, go back to this one. Yeah, it's basically just tearing into the paper. And this is Tomoe River paper, by the way, the original Tomoe River paper. All right, so let's go here. This is number 6. And I will show you this one. So this one looks a little bit chunkier. It's slightly curved, less elongated. There you go. Okay, so this is number 6. So this is my normal angle. This one's almost fatter side to side, or down, up and down, than it is side to side. Certainly on this lower angle it is. And then let's try and do reverse here. No, not doing it. And then this is another Troublemaker ink. Foxglove. Let's see. Foxglove. Foxglove. So it is kind of fun that you can be able to change your angle and get different lines. And depending on your natural angle, like if you hold your pen more upright than roughly 45 degrees, which is what my angle is, then you're gonna get the line more closer to what you get when you do it upright, and vice versa. Okay, so this is the last one. This is number 7, and this is the only one. These were all really nicely tuned and smooth when writing with them. This is the only one that was just a little bit, I don't want to say scratchy, but has a little more feedback than some of the others, and it's the thinnest of all of them. It almost looks like a tiny little blade there. So my normal writing angle, higher, lower. You're definitely getting more line variation here. This is more like an architect at the low angle. This one I think is also another practical one for everyday writing because it is not so huge. The number 2 is probably the largest, especially largest in variation and also largest in just plain writing. So this one is another Troublemaker ink. This is Troublemaker, and it might just be more feedback because it is a finer nib. And this is Freedom Park Rose. So writing higher, lower, and then reverse. No, none of these have been really good for reverse, if at all. Okay, so then I'm going to do this last one that was sort of an add-on, and then I will put these closer up to the camera so you can get a little bit of a better view of the line quality here. So like I said, this is the mini fude. And so it has just a little bit of an upturn at the end, and I actually think this is a very nice, smooth nib. So here's my normal writing angle, down side to side. If I go higher up, I can get a little bit less variation. There actually is a little bit of a wider line here at my normal writing angle, and then I can get even thicker. This one actually does write in reverse fairly well. It's a really thin line. And so this ink here is Diamine Raspberry Rose. So let's scope high. Raspberry, and then raspberry. So this one's really, I think this would be great for a great sketching pen because you can get some really thin lines. You also can get a little bit of line variation as you draw. It's really nice. I did not put a waterproof ink in there, but I think it would really be good for sketching. And at $12, I mean, there is shipping from China because these come directly from China, but it's pretty good, especially if you're combining your order with some calligraphy nibs or something like that. Okay, so here's number one, which is, I would say, the thickest on the downstroke versus side stroke for architect-like nibs. I think the bulk of these are architect-like. So this one's the most, you get the most difference, but here you can see 45 degrees, almost 90 degrees, and then a low angle. So that's what I've done with each of these. These are the reverse writing, which you don't get much. And then I tried to give you a little bit of a writing sample between high and low angle. This one, very similar between high and low. Actually, I think that was high, this was low. But the normal angle, you get a lot of variation. And then here's number three. Not as much variation, but again, you can still get some difference between high and low angle. Number four, I think, is a great everyday writer nib. Gives your writing just a little bit of character. But it's very similar at different angles, but you're getting just a little bit of difference. You can see high, low angle. Number five, you get a little bit of difference between downstroke and side stroke, and then some different line qualities at high and low angles. Here you can see that again. Number six is fairly consistent across, but you can see that it's a little bit smaller at a high angle and a little bit bigger at a low angle, but there's not a whole lot of variation. Number seven is a very narrow one, but if you write at a very low angle, you can get a pretty fat line side to side relatively to, its otherwise thin line. And you can definitely see that difference here. And then this mini fude, which I think is great, actually, and a great bargain. But all of these are really fun, and I think I will probably use all of these different nibs for various purposes. I like just writing with these because I like having pens that give my handwriting a different quality every time I use them. So, or, every time I use a different pen, I get a different quality to my writing, and I think you can kind of tell that. Some are similar, but, I know that there is a bigger difference between these for writing quality because I know my handwriting really well. So, if you want one that's going to be Very, very much like an architect nib, like a broad architect, number 2 is going to be your winner. If you want one that's going to be good for everyday writing, I think number 4 is going to be the winner. If you want one that can give you a lot of variation, I think number 2 might also be your winner, but it's really broad if you hold it at a 45-degree angle like I do. Number 1 is also good for getting different line possibilities. So, and 7, if you like a really fine line, that's going to be the one for you. So they all have something different to offer. You know, whether you think they're different enough to get them all, that's up to you. All right, well, let me know if you have any questions and I will answer them down below when I can. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of future videos on my channel, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. I hope to see you next time, but in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.